The word paralogism translates to paralogismos in Greek, meaning to reason falsely, and it's the result of believing statements on false reasoning. One example is a synthetic being losing control and going on a killing spree. Hey guys, what's up? Aru. This coming patch is going to emphasize that exact false reasoning, along with the event quest in Fontaine focusing on Natlan's freedom to explore other regions and a little bit of lore about the root cycle of Fontaine, Remuria. An example of paralogism is assuming that Albedo is the only synthetic being in Mondstadt when in reality there's actually 2 or 3. And false reasoning also applies to the events in Remuria, which is a fun little fit to the entire patch's theme. It's mainly used in rhetoric and philosophy for a fallacy the speaker believes is true, rather than something deliberately meant to deceive someone, basically believing that something is true when it's actually not. So if something that everyone believes is true is actually false, then which person or narrative should you believe in? This is the general essence of 5.6 Archon Quest, and now we're going to experience that through an event quest turned into an Archon Quest. Timestamps will of course be down below for anyone who's looking for specific segments. Now let's get started. Interlude Chapter Act 4, Paralogism. Greatness created in the moment where miracles met life. Neither mundane knowledge nor earthly compassion could hope to reach that light. The arrogant slither forth from the darkness, hypocrisy draped in virtue and reason. Their gnashing maws devour all, brothers and sisters alike. This is likely the moment when Rheindotter created life using Chemia, and when the sages from Conria became sinners, as well as the initial fall of Conria 500 years ago. Nicole from Hexenzirkel already warned us of such things in Sumeru, and she further elaborated upon changing or slightly altering the truth of events in Fontaine. The special program already mentions unraveling the truth of Tevat, as well as events to come and recalling previous encounters. So is this now the real truth that all the other Archons can't tell us about? And in 5.6, Venti will be the one to tell it to us? But then again, if we follow the theme of paralogism, should we believe in what he says? This is exactly what paralogism is, a point in time where you can't trust anyone, not even yourself. The events in Mondstadt are mentioned in the special program to be similarly tied to Liwa's Lantern Rite and Natlan's Archon quest about death. So is Renova pulling strings in Mondstadt, or is the world finally returning to its original dying state? Nouvelette's lore already highlighted what remained of Tevat after the wars, and right now it might just be showing that exact result. Moving on, Albedo is accused of murder and improper disposal of human remains, likely seen by Hertha, leading to the accusations against him, and finally being brought to court in secret, led by Dahlia from the Favonius Church. I can't really find the exact location of this courthouse, and there aren't any structures in Mondstadt that looks like this from outside, but you can comment below when you find it in Mondstadt to help everyone out. Dahlia is the deacon of the Favonius Church, known as the Herald of Barbeloth, and he seems to be close with Venti too. Now I'm taking potshots here, but I'm assuming that this is a reincarnation of the bard that Venti met as a wind sprite long ago. Calling Dahlia a herald of Barbeloth is the same as calling the Sealies angels, messengers or bringers of news and events that are about to happen. Based on that, it wouldn't be a surprise for Dahlia to know how the events would unfold, and Venti is just playing along with Albedo being guilty. The Hexenzirkel witch Alice is known to pull pranks like these since the first Golden Apple Archipelago, so Albedo might be acting as part of the event as well, doubling down on the theme of paralogism. Now within the courthouse, you can see Kaya standing as witness defending Albedo, and Hertha standing as witness accusing Albedo, with Jean and Dahlia as well as one other person as panel judges of Albedo's case. The other judge I can only assume as Seamus Pag from the Genshin manga, the Favonius Church Cardinal and father of Jean and Barbara. Albedo mentions her mother Rheindotter again, as well as the mission that she told him to go to Mondstadt to find the truth of the world. This was already mentioned in his character lore, but it's nice to hear again after being away from Dragonspine for so long. Someone mentions human research as well, which might have been brought up against Albedo during the trial, as he is a synthetic being. Assuming that Albedo is taking up human research due to his situation as a human with different sediments could be a reason why he did that. The travelers are also made from different sediments, but I can only guess that sediments of descenders and synthetic humans are wildly different. Something interesting about this new patch is we'll get to see the second floor of the Favonius building and check out Albedo's office, maybe even Eula and Kaya's office too. Paralogism also works here due to the perceived truth of Hertha accusing Albedo of murder and improper disposal of human remains, when in reality it might have been someone else that looked exactly like Albedo. There's no telling if the current Albedo is a clone or not, but it does seem like he's doing things with purpose. Albedo mentioned before that he could one day lose control and destroy Mondstadt, but if Albedo were to actually lose control, then Dainsleif would be there to clean both him and his mess, but it seems like he isn't here right now, unless he was always there in the first place. Primordial Albedo coming back after allegedly being killed by the real Albedo is likely too, since the end of our quest in Dragonspine included Joseph popping up and being assumed to be the Primordial Albedo. Maybe now he's coming back for part 2 and learned to use Kamiya like Albedo did and was able to look completely like him, while the real Albedo was busy with his own experiments. The other possibility is Durin coming back as another Albedo clone, since both of them are children of gold and would have said a similar statement of coming to Mondstadt, one to research and the other to display their beauty with pride. So far there's no mention of Durin or Dragonspine from the special program, but it was included in the poster art, so we might go back there to uncover more secrets about Solvin Dagnir, Durin, Albedo, and Rhindaughter. Now, on top of Albedo being accused of murder, Mondstadt is also under heavy attack by monsters during the Windbloom Festival. So far, there hasn't been any Abyss Order related enemies in the special program, but the monsters do have an aura similar to being frenzied or Abyss corrupted. The red frenzy aura is similar to the Fell Flower in Dragonspine, as well as the aura emitted by Durin's core that is still alive. That and there seems to only be cryo-related monsters along with the default ones. Putting it all together, the monsters from Dragonspine might have been affected by Durin's blood. So could Durin be behind this attack and he doesn't know it? And could Durin have copied Albedo and brought monsters from Dragonspine to attack Mondstadt? It is quite an easy trek from Wormrest Valley as well. So will we finally deal with the real Durin in Dragonspine just like we did in Simulanka? Moving on, the Dodo communication device is only ever used in summer events, but now it's being used in the Windbloom Festival to contact Alice for aid. But the first call was for some reason directed to Grandmaster Varka, and we get to hear his glorious voice in Japanese. It's not uncommon for the Dodo communication device to call other people before, since it's known to be tampered by Nahida as well as it being created by Alice. Apart from Barca being connected to Capitano as well as being in Dormant Port before, it's likely that he'll tell us about setting off the Nodcry, meeting with Capitano who isn't going to be there, and connecting us to the Welkin Moon web event. That and some of his own lore. Varka also seems to know Venti quite well and already knows that he's Barbetos, so they might have known each other in the past to be knowledgeable of Venti's identity. So far, only Varka, Jean, Diluc, and Stanley are confirmed to know of Venti as Barbetos. Based on everything that's been said in the special program, the main reason we called Alice is to ask for help, and Alice already knew about the monster attacks on Mondstadt when we called her. But Alice, the joyous auntie that she is, decides to help us only after we beat her challenge, which is why we're fighting her in a game of chess within the Imaginarium Theater. The chess game screams Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass, and not only are we fighting against the Red Queen, we're also shrunk down to the size of chess pieces. It's a fun nod to Alice in Wonderland, but I'm sure Hoyo has their own way of telling this story, and it also involves paralogism hinted by Barbeloth in the second phase of the fight. The first phase is Alice wearing a red hat and using chess pieces on the board. The second phase is Barbeloth wearing a blue hat while we fight against the new Imaginarium Theater boss. And within this fight scene, you can see a scrying circle behind the platform, as well as Barbeloth's cuter Dodoko model. From Simulanka, if you could remember, it was Alice, Barbeloth, and Anders' daughter who managed the simulated world. And in this event, it seems to be orchestrated by Alice and Barbeloth, while Anders' daughter might have also had a hand in this despite her being dead. Maybe everything happening is all just a play or a dream, a story created by Alice and the Hexen Circle for us to play through and experience. Barbeloth also has this to say during the fight.
天地が逆さになった時、人は世界の本質を知る。なら、盤面が逆さになったら。
Now that quote alone goes back to when the sages saw the truth of the world by hanging upside down, the upside down world of Tevat, as well as the truth of Tevat's false reality and the false sky. Much of Conria and the Abyss's lore can be found by looking at the world while being upside down. The Abyss runes of Conria were learned by a certain sage by hanging upside down from a large Irminsul tree, a nod to Odin in Norse mythology who hung himself on the Yggdrasil. Now this is all from the Silver Twig lore, and much of Conria and the Abyss's origins or truths of the world would also be found seeing the world in that way. Flipping the world on its head has been seen from the summer events before, and now it's the same here with Barbeloth in the second phase, which fits fits with her words in the trailer, turning the world on its head and dropping a new set of chess pieces in a different plane. Interestingly, the boxes in the second phase of the fight show chessboards, which might take us from the world with rules to a scattered space without any rules. Much like the Abyss's random but deadly nature and a nod to the Sea of Quanta and Honkai Impact, this might just reflect what's going to happen in Nodecry. In Winter Night's Lazo, the game against Celestia was also played on a chessboard, and Piero mentions that the game doesn't end at checkmate. It's likely because the pieces that left the board can still play the game, manipulating truths and rules in different places to win against the Divine, which not only means we'll get to see Senora come back to Snezhnaya, but the game will also shift to a different plane of existence in the future, one where truths and rules can be written by any to their advantage. At the end of the stream, we're also given a date for the next Welkin Moon event update, which is April 30th, 7 days before the new patch releases. Moving on to Fontaine, the Chevalmarin Film Fantasy is an amusement park event set up by Navia and Despina di Rosula, invented by the engineer and film enthusiast Lepine Pauline, basically a management simulator or theme park tycoon event within Fontaine that will include characters from Natlan. The name Chevalmarin translates to seahorse, which makes sense why Farina is included in the event, and her seahorse Surintendant Chevalmarin. The fact that it's a film fantasy land would have some part in filming and shooting like the Farina Film Awards, but it's mainly funded by Lepine Pauline as an amusement park in collaboration with the people of Natlan as food suppliers and Despina di Rosula as operation managers. The Hotel de Board cooking contest is as it sounds, a cooking contest with judges and where the best food dishes will win the competition. In short, it's Food Wars or Hell's Kitchen, but in Genshin Impact, and we seem to be feeding people and creatures some interesting food combinations likely related to Escafé's story quest. Next, the Ancient Ruins Master Terminal is actually the same trial device that we've seen in Toland's Dragon City, and its purpose is to lord over the source mechanisms, but today it's just a dormant source machine with its basic functions. Interestingly, it uses Hydra abilities compared to the Phlogiston Light of the primeval source mech. Remoria being included in an event quest or story quest is quite a fresh sight to see as well. But now we not only get to see part of Remoria with other characters, but the God King Remus is also mentioned in this questline. A certain character named Modesty takes notes about a public bathhouse of the Remorians. A bathhouse and Greek-inspired designs might just look exactly like Amphorius from Honkai Star Rail, a cool nod between Hoyo games within quests. But there are still some other details within the quest worth noting. Nuvolette for some reason gets stabbed, which might either be from Sigewinne or Aoife administering aid, and I doubt that anyone could stab a sovereign Hydro Dragon as well. Aoife's pet Kakuku is also seen speaking to Nuvolette, and the special program hints at a modern Saurian speaking to an old-era dragon too. So we might finally know why exactly Nuvolette wouldn't be welcome in Natlan, and if their languages are any different. Now, the Chevalmarin amusement park in Fontaine is in dire need of supplies to run smoothly, so it asked for help from the region closest to it, which is Natlan. Now, I have no idea why they didn't just take supplies from Sumeru or Liyue, which are much closer and easier to import food from, but they did explain in the trailer that the festival needed vegetables specifically from Natlan, and it's also a good way to show Natlanese being free from their own region. We get to see quite a selection of food-related characters from Natlan trading goods and setting up shop in the amusement park, which is why characters like Auroron and Veressa are there, likely being escorted and guarded by Aoife and Kinich. But the Natlanese and their various floating friends aren't allowed to fly at the start of the month, which leads to Kakuku running into Nuvolette and Wriothesley. Wriothesley, on the other hand, is busy dealing with a smuggling case, which leads to meeting Kinich, as well as Aoife and Auroron regarding an ancient dragon relic and a gun. Now, a special drug made in Remoria might also be included in this smuggling contraband. And that's basically all of the lore and theory that I could rummage and squeeze into this upcoming 5.6 patch. If you enjoyed this video through to the end, then I suggest leaving a like, commenting below your thoughts, and hitting the subscribe and the bell icon to stay tuned for more of my videos. Safe to say there will be a ton of lore coming our way, and I'm both thrilled and terrified of what Hoyo has in store for us in the future. I won't talk about anything else since this is as much lore and theory that I can squeeze into the video already, and I'll save the more in-depth theories about Venti and Rhine-Daughter and everything else for when the patch actually releases. So as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah? Like, comment, and judge, subscribe, and hit the bell for more of my ramblings, and stay mad theorists. Bye!